Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, JJ in his dress blues today. Hey! No, you don't have any Mountain Blue in yours.
I messed up.
No.
I totally did not get the memo
You didn't get
today.
the Mountain Blue.
No.
But you are wearing salt white
I am.
on the shirt. All right, so we have new colors. Hold on.
Breaking
Jeremy,
news sounder.
Breaking hockey sweater news from the hockey sweater news desk. This just broke. If you want to go check it out online, go to KSLSports.com and see hopefully what these new colors are.
Hopefully you see that at KSLSports.com.
All right, so now here's the deal. The Utah Hockey Club has a color scheme.
And a name.
So tell me what
and
a
temporary logo.
Tell me what you've got to describe using your best radio descriptors.
Okay, I've got very, very descriptive colors
What
here.
do we have from Ryan Smith and SEG on the new colors for this
now,
Utah Hockey Club?
People were onto something earlier. That trademarked logo that got released last week, that is exactly what this is.
Okay.
So the Utah Hockey Club in a circle, Utah in black lettering in the middle with Hockey Club in white, top and bottom. And then they have several other variations. They have one with the state of Utah in black with blue lettering of Utah across it with Hockey Club in white. But I think what you really want to know is what the colors are.
Yeah, what are
Here
they?
are the colors. Rock black, salt white, and mountain blue.
Hey.
So that light blue, icy blue color. Now, we don't know if that's permanent. It's
Okay.
just for the 2024-25 season, the logos and colors. But
I told you.
I'd be very shocked.
You do not name
Very shocked.
You do not name colors. Like you don't have a branding on color names, basically.
I mean, they were very
Rock
specific
black,
about the names
okay?
of these colors.
Rock black, I get it. Okay, why? We got rocks in the state. Okay, fine. Salt white. Okay, I think we see what's going on here.
Yep.
And then mountain blue. So you name those colors if you're going to use them going forward. I would imagine that this is also going to be whatever the mascot ends up being picked halfway through the season or whenever we find out halfway through the year, because they said they weren't going to reveal it until what was the wording that they used? Until a good portion of the season is underway. So you won't find out who wins that battle, but by then you'll have already been able to, and it would be absolutely insane to have the colors be green, black, and white when they rebrand everything in a year, right? Because people are they're going to snatch up some Utah Hockey Club stuff.
Oh, yeah, this stuff looks good.
It's going to be, and look, you can get a black Utah hockey sweater that has that Utah across,
Yes.
it's a sash
So,
type of look.
More of the news. Let me throw this out there. You're on the right path with that description. So they also have released the jerseys for the inaugural season, just as you're describing. At home, Utah will wear black. So the rock black jerseys with Utah in a diagonal across the jersey front. And
I'm sure that has
on
a
the
name.
road, they will wear white with the black and blue striping.
Yeah. Oh, sash lettering is what I'm seeing.
That's the way to call that.
Okay.
That's the proper description.
So sash lettering. It's kind of a New York Rangers
Yep.
who've always kind of had that whoop
Yep.
across the chest there. I like it. These look sharp.
They're going to look really nice.
And by the way, you can buy stuff on the front end of this, and it will absolutely coordinate with whatever the team name going forward is. You might not have a new logo of a Yeti or a Mammoth or an Outlaw or a Venom, an Oreo Blizzard.
So another breaking news.
No, Jeremy, you got to keep come on, right? Look.
So
at this point,
why did they release this information just now?
Why?
Because it is now official. Smith Entertainment Group has closed the transaction. Utah Hockey Club has been launched. Their Twitter now is up. You can go follow the team on Twitter. It is official. We do have a Utah Hockey Club. The transaction is now complete.
So the Utah Hockey Club Twitter that I saw associated with this, it has like 500 followers, but that's the real one, right?
It is. Yes.
So I thought I was getting clowned by a kid from Draper.
I know.
Who's just like, I'm going to start this thing up.
There's some really smart kids out here, especially in Utah.
That's what I'm saying. You have to get it bought back from them. Okay, so the transaction's official. Now, we heard Ryan Smith talk about that last week during his interview with Hanson Scotty, right?
Yeah.
That the deal closed this week. But the deal closed officially today.
It is now officially done.
So of all the times that we get, look, every day is a new something to celebrate with this announcement. This is a gift that keeps on giving. I am so thrilled that we get to be, albeit an adjacent part of this, right? This is so cool to be able to watch this, to see some colors rolled out. And like I said,
ooh, man.
it's not.
I'm excited. I'm doing the 6 o'clock today on TV. I'm excited to get to roll this out.
Oh, what's cool is
they have video and they have the players wearing the jerseys.
Oh, they do.
Yes.
Is it on their Twitter page?
It's on their Twitter.
You better follow them.
It's on KSLSports.com as well, I must say.
Okay.
So if you go to our store on KSLSports.com, they have the link. A little video there. It says the ink is dry. We've officially closed on an NHL franchise. Join us on this journey. That's from Utah Hockey Club's Twitter. And you can see the video on KSLSports.com.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, it's looking sharp. Man. So too late to get in on the season ticket thing? I'd be 34,000.
Oh my gosh, this gear is amazing.
I know. It's looking awesome, dude.
I mean, I don't know when the store is going to start selling stuff. I'm just saying, you're going to want this stuff.
If it's not across the street at the Jazz store.
I'll be back in a minute.
Hey, I'm not kidding.
All right, right now I know maybe this isn't great radio, but look, Alex.
No, I know.
Look at that stuff.
Oh, they flash some.
Look at this stuff
on their Twitter page.
Here
they flash very quickly.
Look.
I'm looking at it. I've got the same thing going on.
Okay.
They got hats.
It's pretty.
Oh boy,
it's pretty.
Oh, I paused it on a hat.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
Gotta have it.
I wonder if there's going to be.
That.
I love how we're looking at this and we're like, did you see this part? Yeah, it looks really good. I
imagine this video's coming soon. Here's just a still shot.
Oh yeah,
the uniforms.
The uniforms.
Boy.
You got the look, and it looks cool, man. Even if it's temporary, the colors I can't imagine are going to be temporary. So honestly, can we send somebody over to the store see if it's available? I would imagine that stuff's over there, right? Who could we send? Hey, Jeremy. You probably have to be here, but
You want to come pushing buttons?
who do we enlist to walk over to the team store? Can we confirm it? Can we have somebody tell us if it's there or not? Hey, if you're downtown, walk over to the Jazz team store across the street over here. And because they're open I think till 6 every day, usually, unless there's like a doTERRA convention. So go over there. Somebody go over there. Hey, you know what? Let's have a live phone call. Let's do a live phone call in the air. We should fire it up. Get the team store on the horn here. All right, Jeremy's calling him right now.
You're probably gonna get a busy signal.
I just wanted somebody to go over and buy us some stuff.
I mean, I can't even focus right now. I want one of those hoodies.
Hey,
oh my gosh.
Hey, Lloyd, you got a P card over there, don't you?
JJ and Alex need some swag.
Well, it's the station
for
swag.
business purposes
it's
only.
Station swag. All right. So there you go. The colors have been revealed. Jeremy's talking to a human. It sounds like. So we're trying to confirm whether or not there's gear in the store. I love my favorite part is there'd be like, let me look actually real quick. Hey, do we have any hockey stuff in here, dude? Yeah. So we're finding out. There you go. Our program, as always, brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, Costco. You can find it there in the refrigerated section. And there you go. All right. What did we find out? Jeremy just hung up the phone. I'm assuming you talked with Ryan Smith. Is that who you're talking about?
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
He's probably working at the team store right now. What was
Unloaded
the
boxes, putting stuff on hangers.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the verdict?
TBD.
Okay, still
They have the stuff they wore off the planes, like the generic black NHL
okay.
and Utah hockey.
They don't have these the things we saw in the video.
I
That was
saw
a
the
tease.
gear in the video, and
Yeah.
I want it now.
All right.
I asked them when. They're not entirely
said they
sure.
don't-
They've not been told yet.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it's going to sell like crazy.
it's gonna show up. I'm gonna grab some. I'm gonna absolutely get some. Day one. As soon as that gear shows up, I'll be the first one to wear it. All right, so there you go. There's the breaking news. You have the deal is official. Utah has a hockey club, not in theory, but now the transaction was closed and made official today. And you've got colors. You've got a color scheme. So that's very, very good. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we find out throughout the rest of the day. We should have put that employee on the phone. When are you getting them? I don't know. You know, dude? Did it sound like that? Was it a little bit?
They knew what they were doing.
Okay.
They just said they've not been told when
All
it's
right.
made available.
They're probably fielding a lot of these phone calls
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
It took about 6 rings to get to them. So.
I bet.
yeah.
I bet.
We're not the only ones calling.
They are swearing when they hang up the phone right now because so many people are calling.
Come on, man. All right.
Oh, sweet.
Let's,
I'm excited now. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm glad
you
we
got
get to
some-
talk hockey at 3:30 because this is
It's going to be good.
exciting.
All right. So there you go. That's been made official. That feels a little bit more right. Let's kick the show off, though, with the cut, and we'll get sort of officially started with the non-breaking news stuff. But the, man, we just said we have more to jump into. So let's get in right now. Top of the show. It's the cut. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This portion of the show brought to you by Trajan Wealth. TRAJAN Wealth.com is the website. You want to find the best in your retirement. TrajanWealth.com. There you go. All right. If that wasn't enough for you to get excited, I was trying to figure out what direction we wanted to go with this. Now, I don't know how, and you made a good point in our pre-show meeting about how to handle this, because the Big 12 is now open to selling its naming rights, okay? Now, teasing ahead to the 5 o'clock hour, Gloria Navarez, who's the commissioner of the Mountain West, is going to join us. And I'm really interested to see if this is a model that would work for all the conferences, including G5 conferences.
I really can't wait to talk to her because she's really going to be able to help us out with this. How do conferences view this? How is getting into private equity, which is a completely new area for these conferences, how does that work? I'm curious.
I thought that we were joking about the All-State 12, but the reality is there are going to be other considerations. I don't know what you have.
How is Buc-ee's not sponsoring the Big 12?
How's Bluebell ice cream? Bluebell, the Bluebell Big
Bluebell,
12?
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper,
Who
I
would
mean, that makes
sponsor
sense.
the SEC?
Yeah.
What company out there sponsors the SEC?
The SEC would be just like the Nick Saban SEC, right? It would just be
Nick Saban.
No, Nick Saban dealerships. That's what I mean. Like, doesn't he have his own
Has to.
No, he does, and I think he's a part owner even of a Ferrari dealership in Miami. That's how weird. I'm not kidding about that. That's a real thing. He's a part owner of a Ferrari dealership, and so him telling all the kids oh, this got to be a business, and I didn't like it. It's like, you own part of a Ferrari dealership in Miami, dude. Come on. So CBS Sports reporting that today that the firm CVC, the private equity firm CVC, could buy up to a 20% stake in the league, and that would be considered. It would be $1 billion infused into the conference immediately. I'm assuming that's on top of the $1 billion deals that are being made for media deals, right? This is one of those moments too where we're trying to tread water that has never been tread before, and I can't tell if it's filled full of sharks or if it's the best tropical waters we've ever been in. You know what I mean? And for players, what does it mean? And how is this going to look? And then, JJ, you brought up a point, which is, does the average person who's watching college football, does it affect them? Could this affect the product? What would be the way that it could affect the product going forward? Because all we want is good college football that's competitive and fun to watch. If the Big 12 sells to a private equity firm or they sell the naming rights to their conference, which is also on the docket, where are we going with college football?
It doesn't change the product in the field at all. It's just going to be money in the pockets of different people. That's it. Now, why do these private equity firms want to get in? Because they make money, not because the schools make money. Well, the schools will make $2 to $3 million.
Sure.
What does that do? How does that help?
You could
How
pay,
does that
you could
make
pay your
Utah
head
and BYU better?
Well, if you're at BYU, maybe you could go toward paying your head football coach a little bit more, right? If that's what you want, if you want to sign him, if you want to extend him more. I don't know what the practical use is for having the name. I mean, look, everything else is named in the entire planet. We have Smoothie King Arena is the weirdest sponsor for an arena or a stadium I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The bowls we will name a bowl anything if it's going to be some extra money.
Does Delta Airlines sponsoring Delta Center and everything else over at Utah Jazz make the Utah Jazz a better basketball product? Absolutely not.
No, but it is a business.
It's a business exchange.
And it is.
So this is all this is. But here's why it's different, is because this has not been possible until now. So now that NIL and the House versus the NCAA case have been resolved, now these type of deals are possible, and this is just the beginning of it. So, yes, it's different. It's new. We don't understand everything about it, but is it going to impact the business on the field? I don't think so. I don't see any way it does, other than the fact it's just going to help these schools that are already part of these power conferences get stronger and more powerful because they have more money, because they're attached to these conferences that continue to make even more revenue, because companies like Allstate are giving them money, or you have the private equity firms that have invested in it and have a 20% stake in the league. How do we feel about a private equity firm owning 20% of the Big 12?
Now, I told you this. A lot of times private equity firms get the reputation of going in, slicing and dicing the staff to be able to save money here and there, right? I will ask you this, without naming names of local restaurants, how has your local restaurant fared? Is the food just as good as it ever was or better?
Every local restaurant that has become a chain sucks.
Well, that has become a private equity run chain, right? Because there are a handful that started to blow up big, and they are classics, and we loved them. It was what I lived on in college.
And congratulations to those who somehow found a way to be successful in the restaurant industry, which is traditionally
very hard.
A way to lose money and go into bankruptcy. But
then it's also
sold out, you made your money, but we don't benefit because now they make crappy food because they won't give you as much sweet pork as they used to. Right?
You settle down with the Now you make a good point. There's also
I didn't give it away. There's several
barbecue joints,
places that sell sweet pork. You can pick which one you want to.
Jeez.
You think I'm talking about, but we
I
all
told you
know
to
what
reel
I'm
that
talking
in.
about.
Come on, no, but I get what you're saying. But like I said, if a company is bought up by a private equity firm, the thought is that it just becomes a machine, right?
And it's all about numbers and
a bottom line.
Yeah.
Now, 20% is not a controlling stake in a conference. What I'm going to be excited for is when a conference sells the majority stake of their ownership to a private equity firm, right?
Let's hope that never happens.
You know what?
But if we're already at 20% year one,
there are going to be some conferences, and the former Pac-12 may have been one of them.
Well, they had this opportunity and they passed it.
Because it was such a wild idea, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine? But here's the thing is that they sold every bit of that conference to the highest bidder. They made everything the official fill in the blank, the official this. How many emails do we get a day on the official Pac-12 beef jerky sponsor, right? Or whatever, like their newest, the official fill in the blank. And this is that, but on a larger scale. And if you are in a smaller conference and you can sell the majority and the controlling stake of your conference to a private equity firm, you would do it so that you could survive. Am I wrong?
No, you'd absolutely. It's business. I guess my point and what I was talking about earlier is does you, the fan, give a crap about the business side of it?
No, and that's the thing.
You
is
care about what's going on the field. You care about whether your team's
Right.
going to win.
If it affects it negatively, then, I mean, and it's yet to be seen, right? I cannot wait to see what the reality is for how this makes any difference and what the creative ways that all of the conferences, Big Ten, SEC, if they might do this whole like clutching of their football pearls and going, oh, I would never sell our conference out for something like that. It's like, yes, you would, because it is an arms race to see how much you can pay your schools.
Yeah.
All of your member institutions, right? They're not schools, Jeremiah. They're member institutions.
Oh,
okay?
sorry.
So in that case, think about how wild of a situation that would be. That you're sitting there and the Big 12 is the All-State 12 or the All-State Big 12 or the Bluebell Ice Cream 12.
Or the Dr. Pepper Big 10.
Oh, the Big 12, the only conference with 13 flavors. Isn't that Dr. Pepper, the whole thing?
23 flavors.
Oh,
So we need
23,
a
sorry.
23-team conference.
You got to get a 23-team conference so that
Well, they're working on it.
23 flavors.
Gonzaga on line 3.
Yes, 23. Listen, Baskin Robbins, what did they used to be? 31 flavors. Come on.
Washington State and Oregon State sure could use a home.
Yeah.
So go to 23.
All right.
Give the people what they want. 23 teams.
All right.
23 flavors.
Whether or not this is going to affect how college football operates to the point of affecting the product on the field, I'm not sure. It's a good day for players, to be honest, because this only helps them be able to make money, the possibility for them to be able to make more money. And I think schools, the school that you love, is going to be able to likely carve out some dollars for themselves, and that's where success starts to come.
2 or 3 million more per school. Is that still a big deal these days for these schools?
How's it only 2 or 3 million a school? Oh, the Allstate deal is. The private equity infusion of $1 billion, I would think schools would participate in that somehow, right? I would hope so. All right. We'll take a break. Oh, they're like, what's going on with Kalani? He's got that Allstate money now.
We get the Mayhem mascot too. Seen those?
Oh, yeah. Get the Mayhem guy out
Kalani
there.
moving to the Riverwoods.
Yeah. Oh.
He can't afford it.
He's living on Riverside Country Club. Living on hole 7. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got a ton more on this program on a Thursday edition of the show. Yes, let's talk some hockey next. One of our favorite guests, Travis Yost from TSN. That's Canada's ESPN, okay? You want to get
What does the T stand for?
Oh, I don't know. If T is the, I would be very disappointed. All right.
The only sports network.
Well, Travis Yost is going to join us. He covers the NHL. And obviously now we'll be able to ask him a little bit more about some of the logos and some of the new inked deal with the Utah Hockey Club officially coming to Utah. And then Game 3 of the Stanley Cup. Lordy, I hope that this thing does not end up like Game 3 did last night in the NBA Finals.
I'm a little worried.
Come on. All right. We'll take the break and we'll come back. We've got more to go right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Good day to be a Utahan. The Utah Hockey Club is officially ours. Well, Smith Entertainment Group's. The ink is dried. The deal has been closed. We heard Ryan Smith last week on this very station talk about the deal being closed this week, and that's in fact what happened today. As of 3 o'clock, the press release went out, along with the release of a temporary logo and maybe temporary colors, although I think they would probably be part of that future, and that's the powder blue, the black, and the white. It's not just those.
Whoa.
What are the names of the
Mountain
colors?
blue.
Got it.
Salt white.
Got it.
Rock black.
Nice. You don't name colors unless you're going to really use them for a long time,
I
right?
think the color scheme's going to stay, and obviously they'll add in a new logo and mascot whenever they feel the time is right.
One of these people who's helping us in this journey to become better hockey fans and more knowledgeable radio hosts when it comes to being now a hockey city. Travis Yost, TSN is where you can see his byline, one of the best covering the sport of hockey. Travis, thanks for being with us again, man.
Of course. Great day to be a Utah. I got to lose, I heard you say that, and I'm like, yeah, it is. It is a great day. I was like, I got to lose about 90% of my New York accent still, but we're making progress, guys. We're making progress.
Just pronounce Fark instead of fork, and you're well on your way.
So the deal's done. It's official, and that makes it one step closer to everything feeling real when the puck drops in the fall. So help us with this now that the colors have been kind of figured out. A handful of people were kind of made aware. We saw the trademarks that were filed for, and people obviously sort of got to leak those things. And so what do you think about the new scheme and the new color scheme, albeit temporarily, for the name of the team being the Utah Hockey Club?
Well, I know at least one of those colors is like baby bluish. Now, I am deeply, deeply colorblind, so I do a lot more about reading of the colors than I do maybe seeing the colors. But I see elements of that baby blue. It looks nice. I do think, though, it's interesting because they have the team name up for a fan vote, right? And that should be, Switzerland across the board, who, best majority is going to win there. But you look at that color scheme, or at least the construct or the concept of it, it feels like Blizzard, right? Like, doesn't it feel like Blizzard? It feels like that color scheme.
Definitely ice, right? Some kind of wintry, yeah, for sure.
It doesn't fit with Mammoth, I think, is the worst of the options that I've seen. But
really? Because Venom is terrible.
Venom's pretty bad. Venom's pretty bad, but I put Mammoth dead last. But I think it goes to exactly that point, right? If there's only, I think, 6 or 8 names they submitted out for vote, and you could pretty much, at least half of those don't really correlate super well with that color scheme, whereas some of the others, a handful of the others at most, really do, especially with that light blue. So I think this is going to also impact how the fans vote, because you see that color scheme, I think you're going to be drawn to something icy, like you said.
Yeah, it feels like Yeti is inevitable, but I want to ask you, of all the names, the 6 that they have left, what do you like the most, and what do you think they'll actually pick?
I'm going to read you the last text I sent, which was 15 minutes ago. Quote, I'm paraphrasing. Quote, Yeti or Blizzard definitely work. I'm definitely good with either. The rest of them really don't make sense. So there you go. Yeti and Blizzard, I would say, are 1A, 1B.
Yeah, all right. Title sponsor of Dairy Queen with the Blizzard, fine. Sure, that works.
I am a supporter of Dairy Queen and this hockey team, so I think that's a good marriage.
There you go. All right. Well, so that for us, it's another notch along the timeline of finally realizing that dream of the NHL, firing up here in the state of Utah. Another one today with the signing officially of the ownership over to Smith Entertainment Group. So there's that, but we're also just plumb in the middle of a Stanley Cup Final that we're praying are going to be different result in Game 3 than we saw in the NBA Finals last night, which was now a 3-0 series. Could we see Edmonton at home reeling it in a little bit against this Florida team that seems unstoppable at this point?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. Number one, you hit the nail on the head right there. Florida looks incredible. They look like a slightly more polished, and this is an insane compliment, they look like a slightly more polished, even if they're maybe not as deep, quality of team that we saw from Vegas Golden Knights last year, which is ridiculous. And by the way, I bring that example up specifically because Vegas and their depth have long been a challenge for Edmonton in the McDavid era in that division for many years. And Florida is like a cloned team of the Vegas Golden Knights. So I think that's, for a couple reasons, not the least of which is the Panthers were incredible wire to wire this year. But it's why you saw the Panthers going off as nearly a 60% implied favorite going into that series, and up 2-0 now. They're in the driver's seat to the nth degree. Couple things. Number one, on the Oilers side, they are an insanely good, maybe the best team in the league on home ice. Home ice advantage has really muted over the years. Certainly post-COVID, it's definitely had less of an effect, and you see teams winning on the road frequently now, but it still does resonate marginally. And the Oilers, when they are wheeling up and down the ice, especially in Alberta, they can look unstoppable. That offense frequently looks unstoppable at home ice. The counterpoint or the problem is, coming out of game one, I thought the Oilers were the better team of the two, and they couldn't solve Sergei Bobrovsky in Florida. And from time to time in the NHL, you're going to run into a hot goaltender, right? And it happens. They come out in game two with maybe the flattest performance I've seen from Edmonton all year. And, as a sports fan of any kind, you watch game one and you're like, all right, we play that way again, we're probably going to win. What happens if you don't play that way at all? And they got ran off the ice in game two, and frankly, probably their worst effort of the year. So this is clearly must-win territory, and I think you said it best off the top, too. It's not even like, can they win? It's like the sports world may need them to win. I don't know that I'm ready for like a Tuesday afternoon Detroit Tigers game being where I'm centering my my sports viewing experience. So let's get a deep series here because the Mavericks have failed us miserably.
Amen to that. I'm not ready for afternoon Tigers White Sox baseball either. So it's interesting because while we're following the Utah NHL hockey team now, I think we're all curious, what is the blueprint of a Stanley Cup champion? And you mentioned the Vegas Golden Knights, and they were able to do it through expansion. You mentioned the Panthers, who have been able to do it. What is that blueprint? What elements do you have to need, using a couple of these examples of what you have to do to win a Stanley Cup final? What do you need as a roster?
I think one of the most common recipes of success, if you look kind of over the profile of the last 10 years, it goes without saying you need a very talented team, right? Obvious point's obvious, but depth in the NHL is particularly valuable, and I would say on a relative basis, in very stark contrast to the NBA. It's all fine and well if you can go 9, 10, 11 deep in the NBA, but how many titles did we see LeBron carry Cavs teams that it didn't even feel like they had 5 players on the court half the time? It's a fundamentally different sport, and the reason why teams like Vegas and Colorado in years past, Carolina, even though they haven't crossed the wire yet, but the best regular season teams over the last 3 to 5 years, Boston Bruins, Detroit Red Wings preceding them, a common theme was that they could roll at least 3 quality lines, if not all 4. And ultimately, Edmonton is actually a great example of how infrequently you see teams built like that. It is very rare in the NHL to see a dominant team that is very top-heavy, centered around just a bona fide superstar. You didn't even necessarily see that with the Pittsburgh Penguins, who probably be the last example of that when they drafted Sidney Crosby about 15, 20 years ago. And yet the Oilers have made it to a Stanley Cup with a pretty top-heavy roster. I mean, the second and third pairings in Edmonton, you hold your breath watching them. The fourth line does absolutely nothing offensively. And by the way, this has actually improved over the last few years in Edmonton. They used to be a full-blown one-line team. The reason why you have seen them progress through the Western Conference now is they've got marginally more depth. And when you've got the best player on the planet by a considerable degree, you got a pretty big margin of error. That's number one. Depth is absolutely paramount in the NHL. The second piece, and it can feel like borderline gambling, like a coin flipping exercise in many cities over many markets in many years. You have to find reliable goaltending. And whether that is a workhorse goaltender, of which there are few and far between, Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg would be the best example of that. Jacob Markstrom would be another good example. Thatcher Demko in Vancouver. There are a handful of guys you could say, that guy's going to give me 55 to 60 games of great goaltending. You've seen a pretty big league-wide shift, in large part because there's been so much talent import from European markets over the last 20, 25 years. You've seen a lot more teams go towards a more platoon strategy at goaltenders, where you carry 2 quality, dependable, if not elite goaltenders on your roster, and you basically rotate them. It has a rest advantage, that's obvious. The other piece, though, is it usually isn't so crippling against the salary cap. So instead of cutting a $12 million check for a goalie who may flare out in 2 years, you invest in a cheaper platoon that you have a little more confidence in. We've seen that work across many Stanley Cup contenders over the years. But those two they're going to be the focus area. And I think, especially on the first point, a lot of what this offseason is going to be about in Utah is understanding we have so many young players either coming through developmental programs or already here. How many quality lines can we actually run in a very competitive Pacific Division or a very competitive Western Conference? And is that going to be good enough for even at least being in the playoff discussion as soon as next year?
We were talking about how the lack of wanting to spend the old regime versus Ryan Smith saying, "Hey, let's get this done and let's be willing to spend some money here," having the cap space, having the draft assets, all those types of things that come into play. In the other sports that we've covered, how does the NHL differ in the offseason when it comes to this kind of stuff? Because, like, if the Florida Panthers win a Stanley Cup, is it like we see a lot of times with Super Bowl winning teams or NBA title teams where there's a couple of guys on there who cash in on their success during a championship run, who will take some money elsewhere and just say, "Yeah, I don't want to build a dynasty here. I'll go off and take some more money over." Is it as simple as that, or is it a little bit more complicated? And will some of those unrestricted free agents who are in Florida, who might be on the docket to maybe go elsewhere, would they stick around? Is there more loyalty? Is what I'm asking, I guess, in the NHL versus taking the money and running.
First off, I could take this question, and I need about 6 hours of your time to go through all the salary cap dynamics of the league, because I think it's a fascinating subject. Like, whether it's the hard salary cap in the NHL and the floor, whether it's the contract terms in length. I mean, you could sign guys for 8 years in the NHL. You can't do anything remotely close to that in the NBA. There is, how quickly players lose their restricted free agency rights and can reach unrestricted free agency and sign with any of the 32 teams. I mean, there are just very unique market dynamics in the NHL, some good, some less good, that are in polar opposite in comparison to not just Major League Baseball, which is obvious, but even the NBA. Specifically, the contract books are two fundamentally different stories. I do think, though, what you're really getting to is the player movement component. I actually think so. I mentioned Vegas earlier, and I want to come back to that. In recent years, there's been two things that I think have shifted market dynamics, and at least how teams think about roster building. Number one was when COVID hit, teams were constantly front running where they thought where revenues would come in, and by extension where the salary cap would go. So teams were constantly overspending, and they constantly were bailed out. It's like hitting your credit card. They were constantly bailed out because the league kept growing at such a ridiculous 3 to 5% clip year over year. COVID hits, and that froze for 3 years. And actually, you saw, I don't know if you guys saw, they just announced a salary cap ceiling this year, and it was like an extra $400,000 to the upside, and people were going crazy, like, finally growth. And it's like, you guys remember pre-2020? I mean, this was SOP. So you've seen teams actually use off seasons in the last few years to clean up their books, so to speak, while simultaneously going after and addressing, priority or premium talent in unrestricted free agency where they can. The last piece that I do want to bring up, because of the salary cap dynamics and because you can do things like exceed the cap ceiling within a given season, there is no salary cap in the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. The Vegas Golden Knights were the first team to figure this out, where they have found it, in contrast to historical market over the last 30, 40 years, call it, that it's easier to clean up and sell off players in the offseason when teams are generally buyers. And then for them to take on the heavy, aggressive buying position within the season, because they have more cap flexibility and because teams who are in seller positions, and you're going to have at least 10 every given year, frequently they're asking the question of, do I trade this guy on an expiring contract for 80 cents on the dollar, or just lose him in free agency for nothing? And every time people are going to trade for the 80 cents on the dollar. So even, and ingenuity is perpetual, right? Whether it's Vegas figuring the cap building piece of this out or other teams going forward. I do think, though, at the end of the day, it creates a lot of market movement in the offseason. And to me, from like a news and like hockey nerditry standpoint, you're going to see an awful lot of player movement, and you're also going to see a lot of the whispers and rumor mills start to pick up pretty aggressively going into the draft. It's already started.
So do you think Utah's going to be a player in free agency in do you think they could make a splash in the offseason?
I think they're absolutely, without any reservation, going to be a player in the offseason. The question is, how are they a player? There's two options, right? One, which I think is the less likely of the two, is they're an aggressive buyer of talent, either through free agency or players like Trevor Zegras in Anaheim or Mitch Marner in Toronto. Like, can you go out and get a real big fish, so to speak? I think the question, though, if I'm in the Utah front office is, do I need a year to evaluate this? Do I need a year to evaluate this team with so many younger players still early in the development cycle? So it brings me to the second thing. I could see Utah, in a smart way, being something of a pass-through organization for 1 year, where they are leveraging their immense salary cap space to acquire more draft picks, more futures, more assets, and operate as that third team in a three-team trade, and basically just reap the asset benefit, whether it's picks, players, prospects, you name it, just because they have the cap space. And again, because in the post-COVID world, growth has been slow, many teams in the league, especially the contenders, have zero cap space. So what they're going to be looking for to improve their teams are trades for meaningful players while trying to negotiate some sort of retained cap space. You see these deals increasingly over the last few years. It is a and actually it was the one thing that Arizona, the Coyotes, had figured out over the last couple of years. They could leverage their LTIR slots. They could leverage their, in their case, unwillingness to spend any money and realize that cap space to build the farm out. So I do think Utah's going to be very active, but I do think it's going to be more so in an investment standpoint longer term.
Travis Yost, we could go 6 more hours with you. We're plumb out of time. We enjoy every second we get with you every time we are able to chat. So one step closer today with the official news of the team being closed and owned here in the state of Utah, and the color scheme is there. So we appreciate you joining us, and we'll chat with you again as we get closer to the season.
All right, take care, guys.
There you go. Travis Yost. Yeah, he's damn good, isn't he?
He knows the stuff, which helps all of us as we.
Yeah, I'm over here taking notes.
we enter a new world in the NHL.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is fun. Right.
We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got more to chat about. We've got tons to break down still in the program. If you miss any portion of the show, you can always go down, download the podcast, and get all of that information. We'll take that break here. We'll come back. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. It's the... Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. Went long with Travis Yost from TSN, but well worth it. He knows his stuff, and on a day like this where the and you know what? He's one of those guys when you listen to him, you go, oh, yeah, man, I am all in on this hockey team, man.
I'm fired up with the colors, and I'm all in on the offseason. They can do some exciting things. This could be a good team.
Could be awesome. All right. Let me see here. Would you rather? It's a little thing that we do every day where we basically go through an exercise of things. We quiz each other on stuff would you rather do. I mean, that's the long and short of it there. Self-explanatory name. I probably didn't even need to explain it to you. By the way, nominate your youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination, KSLSports.com/contest, and listen every Thursday afternoon to our program. Hey, that's today. Next hour, we're going to read our winner for this week. It's a good one, too. So help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers who make the impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. There you go. Would you rather have a new Utah hockey sweater or a new Utah Jazz refreshed purple mountain jersey?
Ooh, that's a tough one. My short answer is the Utah hockey sweater.
Yeah, because that's something that
we've never had before.
We haven't seen.
It's
We've never seen
new,
before.
And they look amazing. The black one looks just awesome. But I want to say it's for the first time in a while that's a tough decision because I love the Jazz rebrand. I think they nailed it. This last one is really nice, and I like the potential of adding in some retro stuff or whatever with their alternate jersey or the city edition in the future. But the black and the white and the purple is going to be a really nice look here in the next couple of years, and I'm excited about that. But seeing the hockey stuff today just really got me excited about hockey, and I think they nailed it with that color scheme too. It feels very obviously wintry and it incorporated, the Bonneville salt flats and the mountains and everything else. And I think they did a really good job with picking the colors for the hockey team. Can't wait to find out what the name will be, which, if those colors stand, it's going to be a shock if it's not Yeti or Blizzard.
Is Woj wearing a hoodie on ESPN right now?
Squirrel.
I was just reading because I don't know if you know this. Are you sitting down for this?
The Lakers sucked yesterday. They suck again today.
Hit the breaking news Lakers sounder. JJ Redick is indeed going to interview for the Lakers head coaching job this weekend. Oh, yeah. Met with Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, last month, of course, at the Combine.
Well,
an informal hello.
There's the interview right there. Him and LeBron.
And LeBron.
Drinking wine.
That's
and
exactly
talking.
right.
That interview's already taken place. It's called their podcast.
No. What is
when he gets hired as the head coach, does him and LeBron continue to do the podcast, and does that ever get awkward?
Do you want your head coach and your superstar getting drunk on their podcast every other day or whatever it is? They do that wine podcast.
When's the last time an NBA player, just maybe like 2 or 3 years removed, I think it's Jason Kidd is the answer, 2 or 3 years removed from their playing career, is hired as a head coach with no assistant coaching experience, not currently part of a staff?
Yeah.
It would be really, really not unprecedented, but close to unprecedented. And for it to be the Lakers with LeBron on the team and the tension, all that stuff going on with that team, that's going to be
at the very least, if you're the Lakers,
a tinderbox, man.
I know, JJ. Ooh. By the way, wouldn't you want to at least put out that you're interviewing like 9 other like lead assistants or whatever?
How come you're not interviewing?
That's what I'm saying.
They interviewed? Who are they talking to?
I don't think anybody. I think this organization has no clue.
What a joke!
How to get rejected by other people?
They're really lucky that
no
LeBron wants to live in LA, because otherwise,
I don't know how to take rejection. What do you do? I don't know. We're just gonna go crazy and hire some rando.
Jeez, I mean, if you're a Jazz fan, you're just cackling because the Lakers suck.
Yeah.
And if the Jazz ever figure out what their path is, man, it'll be nice.
This is not the first time they've done this. Magic Johnson.
Oh yeah,
3 years removed.
Yeah,
that's
but
true.
He was also
Jerry West.
But see,
it didn't work out very well.
I know, and it didn't work out well. And those guys are immortals.
Yes,
in that organization. So
coaching's hard.
It's freaking
it's
weird.
A skill. You got to learn the skill.
This is a guy. Did JJ Redick play for the Lakers at any point? Of all the teams,
no,
he played
Clippers.
Clipper. He was an LA Clippers.
He was a Clipper
guy.
for a while, as you remember when the Jazz played the Clippers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He was on that team.
All right, we'll take a break. We've got some stuff going on around the corner. Got tons to talk about. It's a fun day here at the station. We get a lot of fun days we get to cover, and this is one of those. We just stuff lands in your lap. You get to talk about the closing of the deal with the NHL team here and the colors and all that stuff. Pedestrians only cross at crosswalks. Drivers, slow down and hover over that break around pedestrians. Meet in the middle so your paths don't. A message from the Utah Department of Public Safety. We'll come back next hour. Let's chat a little bit about these NBA Finals that have taken a terrible turn for the sweeping worst. We'll see if the Mavericks can figure something out in Game 4 to avoid the sweep. We'll come back. We've got more. Also next hour, Bob Casper is going to join us from Pinehurst in North Carolina. Scores, by the way, surprisingly low for an impossible golf course. So we've been hearing that these greens are basically like being at a mini golf course, that one of those clown ones that just roll off the edge of the earth.
It's good news for Tony Finau, though.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's doing well.
We'll take a look at the leaderboard next, and we'll stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.